Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, by Hashem HaRachadash, double honors to our apostles and elders here at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the ones hopefully elect. Yeah, to briefly speak on what is being said about these individuals who stirring up confusion for filthy lucrative sake. This extension of the Sakari, these guys who call themselves Genesis, are now basically taking everything they learned and throwing it out. And now they're changing the doctrine basically to fit Christianity is basically what they're saying. And they're going to try to split hairs with you. If you say, oh, y'all teaching Christian doctrine, they're going to say, no, because the Christian teach this one thing, but we don't teach that one thing because they don't, you could say, align with every single point they're trying to say, no, they're different. No, they're the same. Okay. As the scripture said, as according to the proverb, the dog returned to his own vomit, and the soul that was washed back to wallowing in the mire. So they went from clean, waking up to the fact that the Israelites teaching the true doctrine that salvation is only for Israel, Yahweh shall only die for Israel, rebuking the Christian church, even saying out of their own mouths, if I ever want some money, I'm going to go teach that all nations can be saved. And even Hassad, he said that, oh, if anybody thinks I'm about to talk about salvation for the other nations, that's just wrong. And then next thing you know, now they're right back to teaching the same thing as if they never left the Christian church in the first place. But that's according to the true proverb. They hit a full 360. They went from clean, they hit a 180 to hit the clean, then they went back to their vomit. And now they're spewing their madness. And it's just a big ball of confusion because they're getting caught up in their words. Because like I said, you have their words. You have it on record. They're saying that if they would ever teach those things, it's because they want to make money. And now they're right back to doing it. And then saying, well, basically I can change whenever I want to change. And according to the scriptures, you should never follow someone like that. What the scripture says. You know, there was this guy at ISUPK who basically told them, because they keep trying to get them to debate because that's how they make money. You know what I'm saying? The hell with some debate. You know, we don't do that. Paul said that that's wicked. But that's how they make their money. And they can put focus on themselves. But it has nothing to do with the doctrine. Let's say change. And the guy basically said, he said, what's the point of debating with you when you could just you'll just change later down the line anyway, and then this whole thing meant exactly. And he made a good point. Exactly. Okay. It's foolish to try to sit up here and you could say debate somebody who they're showing you that they don't have any loyalty to whatever they say, and they could just change their mind a week later. And then it's like, so what was a waste of time? And that's all it is. It's just one big waste of time. And the only thing that comes out of it is confusion. And these guys were set up to cause confusion. And it's only a matter of time before Yahweh Shai deals with them. Okay, because they're very prideful. They said that they don't think that there's going to be any judgment to them for teaching what they're teaching. So they're very prideful. All right. Proverbs 24:21. My son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. So that brother at the ISUPK is actually correct when he wants to refrain himself from debating this group when they could just change a week later, a month later. You know, he's doing right. He's doing what the scripture says. And this is why we don't deal with no Israelite community, because it's only because of the Israelite community, right, that they're allowing this madness to spread. Because everybody's just in it to get seen and to get recognized. So they're treating the doctrine as just they're treating the doctrine with no soundness, no importance, no gravity. They're treating it as just another way to make some money. Okay, now hold on, y'all. Know y'all mad that they said that, but let's hear him out. Let's hear him out. So we're gonna set up a debate. We're gonna be respectful. We're gonna have this group and we're gonna have this group. No, that's confusion. That's confusion. The scripture says rebuke them sharply. You don't receive them in. That's just the book of Acts all over again. Which I'm gonna read that, but this is Sirach 5:10. It says, "Be steadfast in thy understanding, and let thy word be the same." You know what steadfast means? It means loyal. Because who said that? Because who counseled us to hold on to the doctrine that we were taught? You know what? Let me just do this. I was hoping to be brief, but I didn't, This 2 Timothy 4. It says, "I charge thee, therefore, before Yahweh and the Lord Yahweh Shah Mashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom, preach the word, be instant in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine." So you have the doctrine is sound, and now you have to endure it. But you have some that's not enduring it. That's what they're called, apostate. An apostate is one who turns away or denounces. I denounce this. I'm not in that no more. So they're not enduring sound doctrine. It says, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. They're not steadfast in their understanding. Their word is not the same. Okay. It says, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. So you're going to have apostates who's going to come in the last days like now, and it's going to seek to change everything and cause confusion. America's not the lake of fire. You don't have to listen to Paul. These guys, he even said that they were ready to throw out everything with Paul. They were ready to throw out Peter, Acts, everything. So basically they were ready to throw out the whole New Testament. They're like, we won't listen to Luke, we won't listen to Mark. And you're going to listen to some niggas like that? You're going to listen to some niggas like that? Huh? We was ready to throw out the whole New Testament just because of that one. Whoever said something about Paul. So that means you're going to throw out your house shot too. I told y'all these guys are anti-messiahs, man. And you're going to listen to a nigga like that. And then these guys said, then out of their own mouths, you catch them. If I ever want to make money, I'm going to teach all nations can be saved. And then they're changed. They're all over the place. They're all over the place. And Paul and Peter literally warned us about these guys. They're just wrestling with the scripture until their own destruction. Like, I'm going to take a nigga like that seriously? Who's going to say something so prideful like that? We was ready to throw out the whole New Testament simply because, what? And you got the community laughing, giving you a place to speak? I ain't got nothing to say to you, but, the Lord Yahweh Shem shall rebuke thee, Satan. And I'm hanging up the phone. But these guys, the community is giving these people a place to speak because they don't take the doctrine seriously. To them, the doctrine is just, it's whatever. We just, and the point I was going to make in this lesson, okay, this is how I believe and I know the Lord is about to have Esau Edom roll on Jake. I know it because this is what happens. The children rose up to play. This is what happens when our people get too comfortable and they're settled on their leads and they thinking like we gonna be here, so we just do whatever the hell we want. So they looking at every doctrine, every apostasy, every heresy as an opportunity to give it room to spread, just so there could be a debate and a gathering and all that. Just a bunch of fucking confusion. But meanwhile, ain't nobody looking for Esau though. Ain't nobody checking on Esau. Ain't nobody looking at what the devil is about to do. You see how these guys going to be taken off guard when the scripture says it shall overtake them as a thief? Here it is, Trump passing these bills, cutting off people aid month by month, shutting down governments. Okay, dismantling the Department of Education, basically these surgical strikes against our people, our women, etc. All this trouble that's rising up. But these niggas want to sit up here and talk about some bullshit. Ain't none of them checking for Esau, man. And then they want to sit up here and say Jacob's trouble already passed. So you see how Jake is? Jake is relaxed. Jake is comfortable. Jake is completely settled on their leads and here in the land of America, Babylon. So this is why the Lord got to send that sword. Okay? Because if he don't, Jake won't stop. Jake won't stop. This is why there has to be a Jacob's trouble. It's the only way that you're going to shut Jake the fuck up. And I'm all for it, man. More and more you long in this truth, you understand Yahweh Shem Yahweh's judgments. Jake ain't gonna stop until the Lord send the sword. Then that's when they're gonna shut the fuck up. Here it is, they're trying to save the other nations. Okay? You trying to save the other nations? Well, I want you to save when them National Guard troops looking to take your head off. I want you to preach the gospel to them. 2 Peter 3:15, and account that the long suffering of the Lord Yahweh is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul also, whom according to the wisdom given unto him hath written unto you, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which some things are hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable wrestle, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction. So they're just going to be destroyed. They wrestle with all the scriptures. In fact, this video was because the Apostle Har did a response video because they're saying that Isaiah 14:1 is talking about the strangers, the other nations. No, it's not. Okay? If you go to Isaiah 14:1, it says, and the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So they're trying to use this to say, see, this means the other nations, and I already know, okay, because they don't have the spirit, they don't deal with the spirit. Their argument is it would have just said Israel if it was referring to Israel. Well, that's why you got to go into the Hebrew. All right, this word there, Isaiah 14. Is Garsham. I say Garsham. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's Gar, right? Gar, a sojourner, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. All right, meaning Israelites, foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights. So now, if you go to Moses, right? He named his son Gershom, and why did he name his son Gershom? Okay. Because Moses himself referred to himself as a Gar. All right, so Exodus 18. It says, when Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard all that Yahweh done for Moses and Israel, his people, that the Lord Yahweh brought out of Israel out of the land of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he sent her back, and her two sons, which the name of the one is Gershom. Okay. Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land. And Gershom is just Garsham. So like you could say an immigrant, right? A foreigner. And he says what? Because I have been an alien. This is Moses speaking, because he said what? I have been an alien. He referred to himself as a Gar. And I think another verse says, when he named the son, he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. He says, I have been an alien, a Gar, in a strange land. And this word here is Nakar, because it's talking about a other nation. So Moses named his son Gershom, because he said, it should come up. Because he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. So the point is, Moses referred to himself as a stranger. Strange land. Yeah, Exodus 2:22. And she bare him a son and called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. This is Moses referring to himself as a Gershom, an immigrant. Okay, in a strange land, because he was in Egypt, so it's actually another nation. So this one verse has two different words for the word stranger. And when you read the Hebrew, the Old Testament, you really have 4 to 5. So it makes a difference. So no, that's not what it's talking about. But these guys are just spreading confusion. All right. Until the Lord destroy them. 1 Timothy 4, the apostasy. It says, the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, which is basically throw out the whole New Testament. Question everything, right? Question it. He's not authoritative. You can question that. You don't have to apply that. You pick and choose when you want to apply that. You don't have to listen to Mark. You don't have to listen to Luke. You ain't got to listen to you ain't got to listen to them for. You ain't got to worship Yahweh. Who is he? These two are the fucking devil, man. You understand? That whole group and Sakari is just an extension of Sakari. These men are the devil. All right? Because they're trying to reinvent themselves, and to reinvent yourself for filthy lucre, you have to change. So you have to bring heresy. It says speaking lies in hypocrisy, and they're blatant hypocrites. Blatant hypocrisy. That one brother from ISBK caught him right in his hypocrisy. You know, he said, but didn't you yourself say that if you ever wanted to teach, if you ever want to make money, you would teach that all nations can be saved? And didn't you didn't you make business off of that, making a school off that? Didn't you teach people that? And then now all of a sudden you're going to switch around and change it and then call them idiots for not following and not listening to it? All right? Call them out. Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. That's why there's no persuading these men. They're just going to keep going until Yahweh Shem Yahshua destroy them. And this is exactly why the Lord is about to, I just know it. He's about to bring something major that's going to shut Jake the fuck up. Jake want to sit up here and talk all this bullshit on the platform and all that. Ain't nobody checking for Esau. Okay? They ain't checking these laws. They ain't ready for the digital ID. When Esau really start rolling on this and start putting people in straits, then that's when Jake's going to be quiet. Isaiah 10. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like mire in the streets. And that's what he's going to do with Esau Edom. He's going to give him the charge, and he's going to send him against a hypocritical nation, the nation of Israel. All right, especially they of the circumcision who call themselves circumcised, especially them. 1 Timothy 1:10, for there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. And that's all these guys. They're all filthy for filthy lucre's sake. That's why we don't deal with no fucking community debating and setting the platform and we're going to get this going. All that's for fucking money. Everybody's given a win an opportunity for bullshit to spread. All right, you say what you believe. You say what you believe. It don't matter. You can believe what you want, but you're going to get your opportunity to say your bullshit. He's going to get his opportunity to say his bullshit. I'm going to get him my opportunity to say what I think my bullshit is all about. And in the end, you know, it is what it is. So in the end result, nobody gets convinced. All it gets is just more confusion. But people's names get notarized and respect. This has nothing to do with sound doctrine. This has nothing to do with Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. It has nothing to do with Yahushua. It has nothing to do with prophecy. Just confusion. Okay? So especially they had a circumcision. The Lord got to shut these motherfuckers up. Period. Their mouths just must be stopped. And then that's why Elder Pascal Barr just did a lesson. And he titled it, yeah. 2026 may very well be the year of destruction for all Hebrew Israelite apostates. Exactly, because that's the only conclusion you can come to. And I see the title of that brother's lesson. I was going to pull that too. This is definitely what has to happen. Because Jake is relaxed. Jake is sitting back. They're just doing whatever they want, feeding themselves without fear. Without fear, they're doing all of these things. And that's because they say in their heart, my Lord delayed this coming. So what's going to be that wake-up call when destruction is brought to their doorstep? Okay, the scripture says, smite the scorner and the simple will beware. So Yahweh Bashem Yahshai's got to make example out of individuals for other people to get in line. It's unfortunate, but that's what has to be done. It's just like you if you're a teacher in a school, okay, you know every single classroom there's going to be at least one class clown that's going to test your authority. And guess what? You got I'm gonna have to make an example out of somebody so that the rest will know, okay, yeah, he ain't playing. So that's what's going to have to happen. Okay, brutal judgment. Zephaniah 1 and 12. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, the Lord Yahweh will not do good, neither will he do evil. You know what that means? We just being here. We just here. The Lord ain't going to do nothing. They actually said that. They said, I don't believe there's a judgment for me teaching this doctrine. If I teach all nations, can you say, I don't believe that the Lord will do anything to me for that. Oh, there's no Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble already passed. Jacob's trouble happened after the Lord came and gone. We ain't got to worry about Jacob's trouble. You see what their mentality is? They're saying that basically they're calling the Lord, you're directly calling the Lord a liar. This is why he said in the next verse, therefore shall their goods become a booty and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. The day of the Lord Yahweh is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord of Yahweh. The mighty men shall cry there bitterly. The day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of darkness and thick darkness. A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities, against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord Yahweh's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of my jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in them land. That's beautiful. Speedy riddance. Okay, get rid of them. Of all that dwell in the land. Why? Because in their heart they say, ain't nothing gonna happen. So everybody just setting up the next this, the next that, the next gathering here, the next debate, the next, and meanwhile, every other Israelite group is just coming out of nowhere saying, well, I think this and I think that, and I think we should be respectful of this doctrine. It ain't about this, it ain't about that. And here it is, you just have Great Millstone and the other brothers who teach 100% truth. We're here defending the doctrine and keeping it sound and pure. Meanwhile, the Israelite community, that's why we don't fucking deal with no Israelite community, okay? Meanwhile, the Israelite community is not rebuking them sharply. It's not keeping the doctrine sound and pure. It's not marking them, which cause divisions, and avoid them and call them out. They're instead giving room and opening the door for that wicked shit to spread. Just like in the book of Acts in Athens, all right? Where everybody has something new to say. And then you had Paul who came in there and just, told the truth. Told the truth. But no, the Israelite community, they ain't gonna say nothing. That's why we don't deal with no community. Okay? And if you're teaching that Cornelius is not an Israelite, you don't have 100% truth either. So I can see Jake is settled on their lees. And I say, oh, that's how I know the Lord is about to make something happen. He's going to use Esau. He's going to pass another bill or what the fuck ever. You got all this going on, and Jake still ain't getting the hint. And that's why the Lord said, I am weary with repenting. Okay. Meaning I'm tired of holding back. Jeremiah 15:6. Thou hast forsaken me, said the Lord Yahweh. Thou art going backwards. Therefore I will stretch out my hand against thee and destroy thee. I am weary with repenting. Meaning he's tired of holding back. NLT, you have abandoned me and turned your back on me, said the Lord. Therefore, I will raise my fist to destroy you. I am tired of always giving you another chance. Okay, no more holding back. All right, when Yahweh Bashim Yahshua bring the judgment, it's going to be like a domino effect, Lord willing. And the Lord knows. Sometimes you got to make an example out of a nigga so that the simple can beware. Because they think this is a joke. Okay, when that polite thing happened, Jake was silent for a little minute. But now Jake back to their bullshit. Okay, when that thing happened to Alizé, Jake was silent for a little minute. But now they back to their bullshit. So now the Lord's got to keep making examples. Okay? So yeah, man, Jake settled on their leaves. And this is how you know destruction's at the door. Shalom.